All right, we're going to try a 5-proof delta math speedrun. So we're going to see how long it takes us to do that. So I'm going to start a timer on my phone. Keep track here. All right. So I'm going to start the timer. We're going to do a 5-proof speedrun. I'm going to click a new proof, and we're just going to do 5 proofs as fast as we can. And I'm going to try to walk through them a little bit. I have annotations, so I'll be able to write on them, and we'll see how long it takes. Let's give it a shot. So let's go to our proof. Given triangle ADB is congruent to triangle BCA, prove angle EAB is congruent to EBA. All right, so we want to prove EAB to EBA. So that is my goal, which I'm marking there. We know that the triangle ADB, so those two big triangles, are congruent. Okay, if I were able to show that triangle AEB here is isosceles, I would be able to use the base angles theorem. So that might be something to do. To show that's isosceles, I might need to be able to prove that this is congruent to this, which I think I have enough information to do that. So let's try it. So we're going to say these two angles are vertical angles. So I'm going to put in angle DEA. It's congruent to angle CEB. Our reason is vertical angles are congruent. I'm going to put in that segment CB is congruent to segment DA, reason being CPCTC. And we know that angle D is congruent to angle C. And our reason is also CPCTC. Having established that those two triangles have angle side, I can state that they're congruent. So DAE is congruent to CBE by angle side. And if those are congruent, then AE must be congruent to BE by CPCTC. And then I should be able to say the base angles theorem. So angle EAB is congruent to angle EBA. And delta math calls that opposite sides of a parallelogram or rhombus are congruent. Oop. Opposite sides of, there we go, congruent sides. And one down. All right. Next one, let's clear these annotations. Good. All right, so we're given that AE is perpendicular to BC. So this is perpendicular, mark my diagram. AE bisects BC. So this is congruent to this. And we're trying to prove ABD. So this to be congruent to this. So it looks probably like we want to do a CPCTC for the angles. Let's see. It looks like I can prove this triangle is congruent to this one by side angle side if I use reflexive. And then I should be able to just get to those angles using supplementary angles for linear pairs. So let's try that. I first probably want to say that BE is congruent to CE. That is by the definition of bisect. I want to state that, ooh, it's moving all over the place, huh? I want to state that angle BED is a right angle by the definition of perpendicular lines. I want to state that CED is a right angle by the definition of perpendicular lines. And then I can say DE is reflexive to itself. Reason there. Okay, I'm actually getting kind of distracted by my diagram markings. Okay, so now I can say that those two triangles are congruent. Triangle BED, bed is congruent to SED, CED by side angle side. We've not proven enough sides or angles are congruent. Oh, because I did not state that angle BED is congruent to angle CED. All right angles are congruent. Then I can say my bed in CED, SED by side angle side. Then I can say that those two angles, BDE and CDE, are congruent by CPCTC. I know that BDA and BDE are supplementary because they are linear pairs. Okay, there we go. I can say the same for BD, nope, for CDA and CDE. And we will say what is our reason? Linear pairs. What am I doing? Losing focus. Okay. CDA and CDE are supplementary, reason being linear pairs. And that must mean that angle BDA is congruent to CDA by transitive property. To substitution, there must be a third angle. Oh, they have some weird thing. Yeah, something about supplementary angles. Yeah, supplements of the same or congruent angles. Okay, delta math, we'll accept what you say. ABD, ACD. ABD, ACD. Ooh, okay. Turns out I was not even looking at the right thing to prove here. So I'm trying to prove ABD and ACD are congruent. Still easy enough. So now I can say BD is congruent to CD by CPCTC. From those earlier triangles I proved, I can say AD is congruent to AD by the reflexive property. Whoops. And that should be enough to prove those two big triangles are congruent. Let's see. BDA is congruent to CDA by side angle side. And then I can say, what were the angles I was trying to prove? ABD and ACD. Okay, so it turns out I was not thinking about the right angles. And I'm not talking 90 degrees. All right, proof 2 down. That one was a little slower. There's some RNG involved. All right, let's go to proof 3. Okay, these are fun. Perpendicular, we're trying to prove DF is congruent to EF. DF, EF, the obvious thing would be to prove this triangle is congruent to this triangle, which probably is going to require proving these. Where's my blue? Bigger triangles are congruent. So this one here to this one here. So it's probably where I'm going to start. Okay, clear that chunk out of here. Okay, AB is perpendicular to AC. So I probably want to say that angle A is a right angle. That's calling me in that we're probably going to use HL. AD is congruent to AE. That's marked. BE is congruent to CD. So those are my hypotenuses. Okay, so we're good for hypotenuse leg because we have hypotenuse leg in this triangle compared to hypotenuse leg in this triangle. So we are good to go. They probably want to classify the triangles. Delta math is a little extra sometimes. Triangle contains a right angle, so naturally it is a right triangle. Okay, now that I classify my triangles, I am able to use HL, so I can state that AEB is congruent to triangle ADC. And so we will call that hypotenuse leg. And why does that help us? Well, I want to state that those two vertical angles are congruent because I'm trying to prove those little ones congruent. So I have my vertical angles BFD and CFE. And we will say that is vertical angles. I also know that B is congruent, angle B and angle C are congruent by CPCTC. Okay. So now I've got two angles and I just need to get a side going. So the side I'm going to look for is I'm going to try to prove BD is congruent to EC because I know from CPCTC and the triangles I already proved that BA is congruent to CA. CPCTC, then I can subtract DA and EA. and be able to say that BD is congruent to CE, and subtraction, congruent segment subtracted. Now I can prove those two initial triangles I wanted, BDF and CEF, are congruent by angle, angle, side. And that should get me to FD and FE by CPCTC. All right, that one was nice and smooth. Success, submit my answer, clear my diagram. Let's shoot on into the next one. Let's check my timer. Where are we at? 9:55. Okay, what is this, number 4? Given AC, BC, prove triangle ADE. So I'm trying to prove this thing compared to BDE. I'm given that AC is congruent to CB and CAD and CBD. So these little angles. All right, so I can prove these upper triangles right away. I can prove this right and this because they already have a side and angle, and I can just state that CD is reflexive to itself. So we're gonna go CD is reflexive to CD. Then I can state that those two triangles are congruent as my diagram moves away from me. So CDA is congruent to CDB. And what is my reason there? Side, side angle. Is that one of them? No, that's not an option. Unfortunate. Let me clear this. So maybe that doesn't help us so much. What else are we looking at here? That does tell us that the whole thing is isosceles. So maybe we can say angle A or CAE, I guess, is congruent to CBE. Something about opposite sides of opposite angles are congruent. Yeah. There'll be another angle side side. Oh, that should mean that our little one is isosceles too then. So I should be able to say that this angle is congruent to this angle because of subtraction. So I should be able to say that DAE is congruent to DBE, because if I subtract the whole angle, like this angle A minus this piece, and angle B minus this piece, that should work. So I should be able to say subtraction. Nice. All right, so then that triangle there, this thing, is isosceles. So I can say DA is congruent to DB. Isosceles. Be nice if they use the word isosceles. Okay, and what was I trying to prove? What was I trying to prove? Okay, it looks like I was trying to prove ADE to BDE. Those are the ones down here. I don't think I'm ready for that. I think we have to prove the upper ones still, which now I can do by side angle side. So I'm gonna have to say CBD is congruent to CAD. And why did I say side angle side? Great. Now I can say angle CDA is congruent to angle CDB, CPCTC, and those are each supplementary. So CDA is supplementary to ADE. So this angle here and this angle are supplementary because they're linear pairs. I should say that same thing on the other side. So CDB, supplementary, CDB and BDE. Linear pairs are supplementary. And now I should be able to state that those two angles, come on, buddy, it's not helping my time. Well, I should be able to say that that's congruent to that. Major delay. All right, so I can say angle ADE is congruent to BDE. And the reason is if two angles are supplements of the same angle. Good. All right, now I can prove the bottom two triangles are congruent by angle side angle, and all is well. So on triangles are congruent. So ADE is congruent to BDE, angle side angle, and success. Should I submit it? I should. All right, one more. Where are we at? 1420. Not quite as fast as I was hoping, but maybe this is a more reasonable time. All right, I'm trying to prove that AB is perpendicular to CE. If I can prove either this big triangle here is congruent to this big triangle here, then I would be able to say that because they would share those angles at the base, or if I could do that with the smaller triangles as well. So either way, I need to prove either of those two touching triangles that meet at point E are congruent. From the given information, this is really similar to the last one. AC is congruent to BC, CAD to CBD. Going to be kind of easy, I guess, because I do have to do the whole same proof. Okay, well, we're going to say what? We're going to do isosceles, so we can say angle A is congruent to angle B. It's not going to like that. We have to say CAE to CBE. Opposite. Should be able to just import my stuff from last time. Okay, and then I can say the subtraction thing for angle DAE and angle DBE. So those are subtraction. Then what were we doing with that? Oh, then it's isosceles. So AD is congruent to BD. So we go opposite. And let's see. We could prove the top triangles. Is there any way we would prove the bottom right off the bat? I don't think so. Man, we're gonna have to do that whole same proof again. It's kind of annoying. So triangles CAD and CBD are congruent. Side angle side. I should have just done a new proof. This is boring. Then what am I saying? CDA is congruent to CDB by CPCTC. Great, then I do my supplementary. So CDA is supplementary to ADE. Linear pairs are supplementary. And I have to say the other one. So CDB and ADE are supplementary. Linear pairs are supplementary, and then those angles are congruent because they're supplementary to congruent angles. They are congruent. Supplementary, yeah. Okay. Great, and now I can prove those two triangles are congruent. So now we're basically back where we were a moment ago. BDE, same exact diagram. What is that? Angle side angle. Okay, if those are congruent, my two angle E's must be congruent. So I'm going to say AED is congruent to BED, and we will say, what is my reason here? CPCTC. I also know that they are supplementary, so I know AED and BED are supplementary because they form a linear pair. And then I should be able to say that they are right angles. Or no, I'm trying to prove it perpendicular. I should say CE is perpendicular to AB. Two lines form a pair of linear pair of congruent angles and the lines are perpendicular. Long-winded way of saying it. Success. All right, what's my time? We are at 18:05. Woof. Okay, it's not terrible. Let's do one more proof for good measure. So 6 proofs. We're trying to prove AB is congruent to AC. So I want this side here to be congruent to this side. Probably would need to prove, where's my pen? This triangle here. Let's do it in red. This triangle here. See, this isn't good for the time, having to draw and explain. Also, my technology is not behaving. That's going to show up in a minute. But whatever, AB is congruent to AC. So we have to prove triangle ABF, this big triangle, is congruent to triangle ACF, this other triangle. And we probably have to prove some smaller triangles along the way because our only givens are these angles, which are marked in the diagram. Okay, I can prove ADF, this triangle and this triangle, using linear pairs, and then third angle theorem. So I can say angle AD, well, do the supplementary statements. So ADF and BDF are supplementary. because they're linear pairs, I have to also say that about AEF and CEF. Supplementary. Okay. And if they're supplementary, two congruent angles, ADF and AEF must be congruent. Success, and that means, actually, we don't even need to do any sort of third angle theorem because I can say AF to AF is reflexive. And I can prove that this triangle ADF is congruent to triangle AEF by angle, angle, side. What was my ultimate goal here? Trying to prove AB to AC. I need to prove the bigger triangles. I have a side, I have an angle. No, I'm gonna have to prove those other ones. All right, so we can say DF is congruent to FE. EF, I think it'll take FE by C, PCTC. I got vertical angles here, and that's going to give me angle side angle. So I'm going to go DFB and CFE. Vertical angles, I believe. Then we have angle side angle, so I can say triangle BDF is congruent to triangle CFE. The reason being, what did I say? Angle side angle. Yes. And then if those are congruent, then what's the most efficient way? We can angle, angle side it. Oh, did it not like that? ASA works, however, the orders of vertices is not correct. Oops, BDF and CEF. Okay, most efficient would be to go for angle B and angle C, because that's a single statement. And then I think I have angle, angle side, angle B, angle A, and angle inside AF. Where's my annotation? Maybe I can do it with this one. Yeah, because in this triangle I have this side matches with this angle and this angle compared to in the other triangle. Just leave this. Okay. See, that's slowing down my time to explain. Factor that in. What was I trying to say? ABF is congruent to ACF, angle, angle, side. Good, 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 good. And then I should be able, what was I trying to prove? ABAC. Yeah, we're good to go. ABAC. CPCTC. All right, how's our time? I think we're averaging about 3 minutes pop. This is 22 minutes. I forget how many proofs we've done now. 6? Tough to say. Let's do one more. Given BC is congruent to DC, we're proving angle BCF. So let's annotate BCF. Ooh, hello, outside the triangles. It's congruent to DCF. All right, how might one approach such a thing? That's interesting. We probably would want to prove FE. Oh no, we're given that FC is perpendicular to EC or AE. So these are 90. So if I could prove that this little angle in here, DCE, is congruent to BCA, we could subtract and we'd be good to go. And all that requires is proving those triangles are congruent. So how does one prove those triangles are congruent? We are given BC is congruent to DC. C is the midpoint of AE. Should this be a piece of cake? Yeah. All right, so we're going to say AC is congruent to CE, definition of midpoint. Okay, and we already know that BA is perpendicular to AE, so that means angle A is a right angle. Perpendicular lines form right angles. We can also say angle E is a right angle because perpendicular lines form right angles. And that gives us enough for hypotenuse leg. So I got to classify my triangles. BCA is a right triangle because it contains a right angle. Stating the obvious. Classify a triangle. DEC is a right triangle because it contains a right angle. Then we can do a little hypotenuse leg magic. BAC and DEC. I wanted to do BCA. Let's do BCA. And DCE is hypotenuse leg. All right, now I have to state a couple more right angles. It was very tedious because the proof is very obvious. But we are in a tedious situations. And then FCE is a right angle. Then I want to do a little CPCTC. So BCA is congruent to DCE. CPCTC, and then I should be able to do subtraction and be good to go. So I wanted BCF and DCF. Maybe I should make this a 10 proof challenge and see if we can beat my 10. What's our reason? Subtraction. There are no pairs whose differences are BCF and BCF. Oh, don't lie to me. Oh, okay. We are going to state that FCA is congruent to FC. We got to be very explicit about that. All right angles are congruent. And now I can say my whole subtraction piece. Okay. FCB, FCD. Submit. Wahoo. All right, let's do another one. There goes that. Prove angle AED is congruent to angle CED. AED, CED. Well, we'd also be wanting to prove that they're right angles because they're linear pairs. Maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't. Okay, we can prove this triangle here is congruent to this triangle, BAD and BCD, because they have that BD is reflexive. And I guess if we can prove it, we might as well, because sometimes we work forward, sometimes we work backwards. So I'm going to say triangle BAD is congruent to BCD by side, side, side. We haven't used side, side, side yet. Okay, clear that annotation. All right, what was my goal here? Prove those two angles are congruent. Yeah, we can SAS that. So I can say the two angle Ds are congruent. So a DE, well, this might be an easy one, is congruent to CDE by CPCTC. Then we got SAS. So I think I can already say that triangle AED is congruent to CED by SAS. You've not proven enough sides or angles are congruent. Oh, I have to state ED is reflexive to itself. Sure looks like it's marked that, but I had stated that about BD. Now we can do SAS. So we can say AED, CED, or change it, ADE, CDE. Just personal preference. Okay. If those are congruent, then those two angles should be congruent. So AED. Yeah, we'll call it DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, DEC. Are we done? We're done. Short but sweet. All right, two more. Let's do a little 10-piece. 10-piece chicken McNugget. Trying to prove AC is perpendicular to BD. That's basically the same proof. This is the exact same proof. Whatever. Here we go. So we're going to do a reflexive thing, BD to BD, and that is reflexive. And when I say it's the same proof, there's actually a couple extra steps, but yeah, we can say bad and BCD by side, side, side again. Then I can say the two angle Ds are congruent. Actually, let's go fancy. Let's do the top side this time. So we'll do AB and CBE by CPCTC. And then I need to say BE to BE, BB by reflexive. And I can state that those are congruent triangles, BAY and BCE. What are those? Side angle side. And then those two angles must be congruent. So AB and CEB by CPCTC. And if those are congruent, they're also supplementary. Why are they supplementary? BA because they are linear pairs. And then finally, if they are linear pairs are supplementary and congruent, they make perpendicular lines. What am I trying to prove? BD and AC. Because that didn't really add that much. Okay, which one of these are? 2 lines form a linear pair. Yeah, there we go. And we're done. All right, I think this is proof number 10. Here we go. I think we're making up some time on the back end here. 29 minutes, 30 minutes. All right, CD to CF. Ooh, fancy. All right, how the heck are we going to prove that? CD to CF. Highlight. The obvious thing is we need to prove that these two sides are congruent and prove these triangles that overlap here are congruent. Do a little subtraction and we're good to go. We're going to need to establish that we're isosceles, but that'll come from proving those two triangles congruent anyways. What do we get? This and this. So we have a side and a side. This is a tough one. This thing's isosceles down in the center, so we could do these angles. Not sure that does all that much for us. This is an angle side. Oh no, that gets us ASA. All right. Let's state that HGE is congruent to HEG, which is all reason. Something about base angles theorem, which they like to call it this. Great. Then I would say that FG is congruent to DE. It's addition, good old fashioned. Then I should be able to say that those two overlapping triangles are congruent, DE and FGB. Will reject me if I'm wrong. What is our reason? Angle side angle. Doesn't like it. ASA works, order the vertices. DAE, oh, FBG. Thanks, correct. Then angle A is congruent to angle B by CPCTC. That must mean that our big triangle is isosceles. So I could say that CA is congruent to CB. Opposite is what they call it. Yes, yes. Then I should also state that DA is congruent to FB. Because, why would we say such a thing? CPCTC. And then we can do a little good old fashioned subtraction to get CB and CF. Subtraction. All right, and that brings us to proof number 10. That is time, according to my timer time, it is 32:20. So that's about 3 minutes of proof, a little more. But I think incorporating the explanations and trying to draw on it, that's not too bad for these. These are kind of tricky in a lot of steps. So yeah, maybe I'll do another speedrun sometime. That was kind of fun. See if I can beat that time. But you can also see if you can beat my time. Queue up a little Delta Math level 3 triangle proofs and see if you can get 10 in 30 minutes. Cool, cool. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and drop a comment.